of discussion here. This is one I regret that my co-host Mike Fay was not able to join us today because he would be all over this, and I think it would really influence his understanding of this subject. I want to talk a little bit about your book and about this whole ADD and ADHD issue, if you will, subject, because it's fascinating, your approach to it, your take on it, and what your book is about. The book is called Close Encounters of the ADHD Kind. I believe it was released late last year or earlier this year.
That's right, late last year.
And I will allow you to go into the explanation, but I want to just say ahead of time, I found it fascinating to listen to your description of the human brain as sort of an inhibitor device. That was a different approach to the whole subject than anything that I'd ever heard. What can you tell us about the theory, if you will, that you're putting forth here in your book about ADHD and how that is so directly linked to this entire area of study?
Okay, what I actually say, I do make it clear, is that some, not all,
yes,
some ADHD may not be ADHD, but may be a symptom of having contact. Okay? Of course, there are people who definitely have some sort of pathological problems or problems with the amount of dopamine being produced by the brain and therefore need some kind of stimulation to function. But in some cases where you have contact, the results or the consequences of contact are heightened awareness. Now, if you've got this measure of heightened awareness that keeps growing over time, you become pretty bored with quite a few other things that are going on around you. And if you're in the classroom and you're more aware than the teacher perhaps understands that you are, you get bored, you get fidgety, and in actual fact, there's nothing wrong with you. And some of those kids are given drugs for treatment, and they end up like zombies.
Yeah, see, I was just going to say that this is a huge subject, especially in the United States. ADD being attention deficit disorder, ADHD, I believe, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And this is something, yes, especially in school children, there are just articles upon articles about this. And the whole drug thing, gosh, we could go off on a whole tangent there.
You can. And,
yeah.
ADHD kids, if you look at the ones, and you look at quite a lot of them, they're extremely intelligent.
Yes.
Extremely intuitive. I mean, you take a guy just like Jake, my son, he's ADHD as well. He's extremely intuitive. There's nothing he can't answer if you ask him a question or get him to do that's technical. It's just amazing what comes out. I'm not, blowing my own horn. My own son. I'm talking.
No, not at all. I was going to say the same thing about the co-host that I mentioned that was going to join us. He's been diagnosed as ADD and has been dealing with it for years, and that description would match him as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, they definitely have ability, and they also have empathy. They tune in on a complete different wavelength to situations. They see war from a different point of view. They actually work things out. This whole reality that we live in, this whole world view is all painted in. And it's almost like an evolutionary, imperative that evolution has to come along at some point and put these kids into the society, into civilization, to enable some kind of change. Because, the world you live in now is totally painted in. You've got your education, your universities. They teach you what they're told to teach you because their money comes from government funding. And if the CIA are behind it in any way, shape, or form, and the imperatives are, don't talk about UFOs, just like in the Robertson panel and the Condon report and everything else that's happened in the exopolitical past in the 50s, they will not teach it. And just like Dr. Salo, who started to talk about it, they removed him from the university. So there you are. Your education is completely controlled, is painted in. The financial system. Imagine having a Federal Reserve that's private, and most Americans don't even know it's private.
We just interviewed Paul Hellyer not 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, and I mean, he just blew my mind with some of the descriptions. Absolutely.
He's a great guy. I met him too in a small chat with him.
Fantastic.
We talk about a country that has a tax structure that encourages debt so you can claim your interest on
Yes,
tax.
absolutely.
Well, I mean, of course, you get thrown into the hole. And a currency, a fiat currency, they create money at the same time they create debt. So there's your worldview again. So your education's painted in, your financial system is painted in. Then you've got a military-industrial complex that's incredibly convoluted, layered, and complex, that's somehow or t'other seeking, geopolitical advantages, at the same time creating wars to fuel their factories, their subcontractors. And those guys are also somehow related to the stock market, related to the financial system. You just got to speak to Catherine Austin Fitz, and she'll fill you in on all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got your other, Looney Tune institutions like NASA. Oh, we don't know what those orbs are on the sky. We don't know. We think they are going off at a trajectory. Oh, no, we don't. Then you've got Carl Wolf, the Disclosure Project witness, who comes in and tells you as it is that he saw them paintbrushing structures out on the moon.
Right.
Now, then you've got religion. My God's better than your God.
Yep.
You've got the Vatican that holds the hearts and minds of 2 billion people. They've got their own SIV, their own intelligence services. They've got their own observatory. I mean, what the hell's going on here?
That's exactly right.
And we are living in this painted in reality. Now, the ADHD kids spot this. They're not fooled by all this. They're not looking at the depth that I'm talking to you, but they have this rebellious gene. Most of them are rebellious. Peacefully so, but they're rebellious. They cannot accept this kind of stuff into the template, the same template that was downloaded to me, this template from this mind-to-mind knowledge capsule. I can't accept it. It doesn't fit. A square doesn't fit into a circle. And the same with all these kids. They're put here to change things. That's why you get them called star kids and Digos and so on. That's what's happening. It's our last chance. It's our last chance to get through the nuclear age. It's our last chance.
I'd like to touch on the article that you sent me a link to, an article, I believe it's from 2006 by Mary Rodwell, called The New Humans. I encourage everybody to seek this out and to read it because it's fascinating. Yeah, if you could talk about that in a little more detail. I'm looking at the article right now, and she kind of groups together a few different names that people have heard. We've heard of Indigo Children, Children of the New Millennium, Crystal Children, Children of Light, and so on and so on. Yeah, if you could talk about that a little bit, it's a new development almost, or an occurring development that I think people are slowly becoming aware of, these children.
That's the point. You see, these children are gifted and they're coming to the attention of the authorities. In the same way, abductees came to the attention of the authorities that go out and you'd have MILABs, military abductions, to back engineer them. Now what's
I was
happening?
going to ask about that, right?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Now what's happening in China as well? You've got these exceptional kids that have extremely high level functioning. We call them Indigos, star kids. I don't really use all those names because you've got different people. Have different meanings for them, and it gets quite confusing. I don't want to mix this in with the wrong theory, if you like. But let's just say these kids are definitely under some kind of accelerated evolutionary process. And what they've actually found is that these kids are all above average intelligent. They're very creative. They start walking, reading, talking from an early age. They've got extremely intuitive abilities. You can call it psychic to some extent. They have a multi-dimensional awareness. Some of them are said to be telepathic. Some of the mothers actually relate to these kids telepathically, not so much in words, but if you like, in pictures. When it's true intent, the mothers pick it up. Some of them have been reported to have, telekinetic abilities. They can move objects with their minds. Personally, I've never seen it, but I've seen some of the work that has been written about it. They also have memory of past life. They are extremely empathetic to creatures, to animals. They're very, very caring about animals. Sometimes they put animals before humans. From childhood, some of them have had these unseen friends. They have this Barishka in Russia, I think his name was, healing abilities. And almost in all cases, most of these kids have this feeling that they have some kind of mission, higher purpose, you know.
Right.
So as I say, this is an infusion. This is some kind of, I mean, I don't believe in the macro evolution. I believe that evolution takes place by humans being tweaked, our genetics being tweaked by extraterrestrials.
I think that's a view supported by quite a few people. Even just intuitively, I think that's a view supported by a lot of people. Yes,
and you know, we've got all sorts of extraterrestrials in Earth orbit going round and round, all with different imperatives. And you know, we are really at our last chance with this nuclear business. You know, we are with nuclear power, with the Fukushima, with the potential of these bombs going off. I mean, you have some extraterrestrials out there that actually have some kind of breeding program to stand by in case we screw up.
Yes, I was going
to. They don't care about us. They care about the planet.
The planet.
You know, if we're going to be a cancer to this planet, they're going to wait till the cancer burns out. They're going to come and repopulate it. I tell you right now. So really, some of the other groups of extraterrestrials have been involved in this infusion of higher consciousness. These kids are coming in, they're being incarnated now and have been. And you can see already the change. You can see already the change. Everybody knows about star kids, as they call them.
Right.
He knows about this new wave of awareness that's going around. Even younger people unwilling to go into the army, you know?
Right. Now let me reset again. This is too much sometimes. You know, it's sort of overload for me to do some of these interviews because I just want to go off on so many different tangents. Again, it's a Time and Space radio show. Our guest today is Neil Gould, coming to us from Hong Kong. And the thing that's interesting about this phenomenon, these kids with these heightened awareness, heightened abilities, is that if you saw such a thing occurring, and I'm coming at this as an American citizen, if something like this popped up and got caught up in the news cycle, everybody would pounce on it, and it would be something that the government would be forced to address, and you know there'd be all kinds of committees and things set up, and it would be an issue people would be looking at, you know, with some real seriousness and a scientific approach. It doesn't seem like it's anything but, I don't know, a rumor or an underground kind of discussion in the States. However, in the Mary Rodwell article, and I guess from your perspective, it seems, and it's said in the article multiple times, the Chinese government is taking this quite seriously. And I don't know how public they are about it, but what can you talk about with regards to the Chinese government and this situation?
It's very, very hard to verify what's real and what's not real in China.
Sure.
It really is hard. But occasionally there are leaks and occasionally there are channels. And there's no doubt that China has been involved in psychic study for many, many, many years, for the study of extraterrestrial life for many, many, many years. I mean, the Dropa stones were found in China. You know, China is not stupid. I can tell you right now, they are not stupid, you know?
Yes.
And they've cottoned on to all this. I mean, you have to understand, China goes into space. They have rockets that go into space.
Yes.
India have rockets that go into space. Japan. All these people who have complied with the request of the U.S. intelligence services to sign secrecy oaths, to stick with nuclear power, to do certain trade with them, are given rights to go out into space. Because if they don't comply, the Americans can shoot them down in 5 seconds. So you can't tell me that the Chinese haven't seen anything in space around the moon. I mean, they go in this direction all the time. They've got satellites. They've got telescopes. They know exactly what's out there.
Right.
But they're not going to talk about it either. They won't go first. Because when Americans don't want you to go first, you don't